All right, I'd like to hear from Cindy next. Miss Cindy, you with the sling on your arm. Cindy was in a car accident yesterday. It was not her fault, and so she is here today as the brave warrior that she is. Cindy, tell us about yourself.
So who knows what I might be saying because I'm on a few painkillers, but you might be entertained. I hope so. So I am one of three children that my parents gave birth to. I was born in Vancouver, Washington, and my parents moved to Paulsbo when I was 4 years old, and that's where I was raised. Most of my life was there. So my mother's from Costa Rica, 100% Costa Rican, and she came to the United States when she was around 21 years old as a maid for a well-to-do family from Costa Rica. They moved to Los Angeles because they didn't need to learn English, and they wanted to make a better life for their own children. So one of the boys of this family was in trade school and invited my father to come home to his own house to fix the television. And my mother, the maid, answered the door and with her hair in curlers and no makeup on, and she fell in love with him as soon as she opened the door and saw those blue eyes, which I happened to have his blue eyes. And they were married 3 months later. And then eventually he moved them to Washington, where he was from. And they had it rough, though. Those two are amazing. They came from very broken families, either from illness or from divorce. Their families had split apart, and they had it rough. They were raised by their relatives, and they worried about things like how to have enough food on the table, and the strict hands that weren't always loving that raised them. And they neither of them finished high school, so but they are resourceful. My mother, she started a daycare center in Paulsbo, and we had it for 30 years. And my father was a technician. He went to trade school, got his GED in the military, and went to trade school. And so they made a life for us, and by golly, they worked hard to keep food on our tables, and they were very protective, almost too much protective. We grew up in a sheltered life where we couldn't even go to the mailbox by ourselves. I mean, they really watched us closely. So we grew up kind of naive, somewhat naive. And so it was kind of funny when we went to school and learned things from our schoolmates that we didn't realize, especially strange words we were saying that we didn't realize had actual meaning. So it was interesting. And my neighborhood was the saving grace. When we talk about mentors, all those Scandinavians in Paulsbo, they took my parents under their wing. They taught my mom to cook beyond just rice and beans. My mom's a great cook, and it was because of those ladies. They helped my parents to parent us because they could hear how they would yell to get a reaction as opposed to nurturing with a quiet voice. So they taught my parents quite a bit. It was, thank goodness. And they enveloped us. They opened up their arms so that we were invited to the barn raisings and the cattle moving and hay cutting days. It was wonderful. But my parents were still very strict. So in school, they didn't believe that girls should be in sports or have any extracurricular activities. So my brother got to be in sports, but we didn't get to do music or anything outside of school except come home and do homework. We weren't allowed to go and play with other children in their homes. We did our playing on the recess field. So when my sister and I brought home a pamphlet for Girl Scouts, we knew the answer was going to be no. But they discovered that my parents could get involved. My mother could do Girl Scouts with us. So we got to do Girl Scouts, and it was our saving grace. Our world opened up. I think the world for my mother opened up too, because we did things she never had done, like have campfires on the beach. We couldn't play with matches, let alone be near a fire. But in Girl Scouts, you learned how to make a fire, and you could do it with 2 sticks. We opened up oysters on the half shell and slithered those things down, things we would never have done. But opening our world up to nature is what helped me, because now I love backpacking and being on my bike and hiking with my family. And So it was a big, big deal for us. But I also learned those mothers that helped when Girl Scouts, when they asked me to do something, they believed I could do it, which we didn't have that at home. It was, oh, you can't do that? Let me just do it for you. Or, oh, I don't know if you'll be able to do it, but you can try. And Girl Scouts, when they asked you to do something, they said, yeah, we believe in you. And that stirred a big thing inside me. And so when that happened, the doors opened up for my sister, for me, for my brother. We set our sights on going to college. We were not only going to graduate from high school and be the first in our family to do so, we were going to graduate from college. So we did, and all three of us have fabulous careers.
Thank you, Cindy, so very much. So when I ask you about that bump in your life, that one thing that you just thought, I may not be able to get over this, what was it and how did you get through it?
So back to Girl Scouts. One of the things I learned is we made dolls for children overseas, and I would never meet these kids, and I poured my heart into these dolls. And it opened up in something inside me that I realized I love to help people. I love giving back. I don't need to meet them. So that bump, I was working at Weyerhaeuser, and my job was eliminated. And I'd never been without a job since before I was 18. So I took the summer off, which I hadn't done since high school, and contemplated what I wanted to do with my life. And I had been loaned to United Way the year prior, and I thought, wow, I so loved what United Way did, and it nurtured that spot inside me that opened up at Girl Scouts. And so I went to them, and they, of course, opened up their arms to me and hired me, and that was it's over 20 years I've been in the nonprofit world. So I just said, I can do this. I know I can do this. I want to help others. And I wake up every day now knowing I'm going to go to work and I'm going to help donors to help impact other people's lives through the dollars that they give. Pretty exciting.
Impressive. So what's nurturing? How do you define nurturing, and then how do you think our next generation should recognize it?
So my favorite motivational speaker is Zig Ziglar. First one I'd ever heard of. I didn't even know what a motivational speaker was, but I'd heard some sayings from him, and I knew I liked this guy. So one of my favorites is he says that true joy is guiding, inspiring, encouraging another person to benefit the path in their life. And so nurturing, when it comes to nurturing, you can give that, you can get that true joy by helping others. And I would say just know that no matter how big or small you are helping somebody, know that that is going to be important to them either now or later, and that is a nurturing thing. It nurtures you, it nurtures them. So I say always open up your heart to people, even if you don't even know them, and help them benefit their path in their life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much,
You're
Cindy.
welcome.
Thank you.